Good morning, everyone. Welcome today to another session of our Female Entrepreneurship Support Program, which is a collaborative initiative by TechQuest STEM Academy and Junub Open Space. The initiative is part of the AfriLabs Capacity Building Programme, funded by the Agence de Développement through the Digital Africa Seed Fund. My name is Dr. Itoro Emembolu. I'm a director at TechQuest STEM Academy, and I'm really looking forward to the discussions today. With me today are two very experienced mentors. We have Ayodeji Agboola, who is the CEO of FlyMyAds. Ayodeji, you are very welcome.
Thank you very much. Happy to be here.
Yes. Also here is Michael Onobote, who is a mentor at Tech by Her accelerator program, MEST Africa. You are welcome, Michael. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, so they'll be speaking on designing usable products, starting with a minimum viable product. So, but before we go on, we would like you to introduce yourselves in the chat box. And as the session, tell us where you're connecting from. And as the session goes on, we would be taking the questions as they go on. Okay, so I will first start with a brief profile for Ayodeji. I would introduce him. Ayodeji is a certified digital marketing professional and an internet entrepreneur. And as I've mentioned, he's the CEO of FlyMyAds Digital Services, and he's also a founder at Business Beats, a business advisory blog for small businesses. He's also a mentor at the Tony Elumelu Foundation Mentorship Program, and also a mentor at the Faith Foundation Mentorship Program. Ayodeji is a certified lead trainer on how to boost with Facebook training program, and he's also SMIDAN certified as a business development support professional. And he has trained over 2,000 small business owners across Nigeria on how to use Facebook, Instagram, and other Facebook tools for business. Ayodeji, so over to you.
All right, thank you so much. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, you can.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm happy to be here to share with us in just a few minutes, what we're talking about this morning. We're talking about designing usable products. Yeah, I hope everybody can see my screen. Okay, so it's going to be a very short presentation, but I hope that everybody who's listening, they're going to gain something, tangible to go away with today. If you don't take anything away, at least you're going to take some practical information away that you can actually start implementing right away. All right. So as mentioned in that very flattering introduction, my name is Ayodeji Agboola, and I'm CEO at FlyMyAds. We basically help businesses, spread their message to the right audiences for revenue growth. Here's how I want us to start. There's a very, very famous quote that is credited to the CEO of LinkedIn, Reid Hoffman. And he says, if you are not embarrassed by the first version of your product, you have launched too late. Okay. There's some words here that have been highlighted. Embarrassed, first version, too late. Okay. Now, throughout this session, I'm going to be explaining with two examples in mind, because I know that the people listening to me, you're either running a small business or you're thinking of launching something like a digital product. Okay, so we're going to be talking about not just a minimum viable product, but as well a minimum viable service. Okay, just think about it like that, or even a minimum viable business. What is it that you need to do, and how quickly can you get it done and put it out into the market? All right, so let's take this thought by Reid Hoffman again. It says, if you're not embarrassed by the first version of your product, then you've launched too late. Okay. Now, let's see exactly what is it that we've been talking about, this MVP, minimum viable product. Okay, so if we were to turn our books to, if we turn to the book of Wikipedia, which is like the know-it-all of the internet, Wikipedia, defines a minimum viable product as is a version of a product. In your mind, you can also say, or a service or of a business, is a version of a product with just enough features to be usable by early customers who can then provide feedback for future product development. There's a word missing there. Sorry about that. So that's supposed to be provide feedback for future product development. Okay. Now, what this seems to be tending towards is that you have to really think about your business and see, okay, how can I achieve an MVP? Why is it even important to achieve an MVP? Why should I go to the market with something that is minimum? Why not I wait till everything is all nice and dandy before I get into the market? Well, the reason is because you're not the only one playing in the market. You don't own a monopoly of the market, and there are people in the market who are already doing what you're doing. And if you wait till yours is perfect, you probably would not have any market. You would not have anybody to buy from you. Which is why, if you go back to what Reid Hoffman says, if you're not embarrassed by the first version, then you've launched too late. Here's another thought that I want us to take into consideration. And that was also credited to the CEO of Facebook. And he says, ideas don't come out fully formed. They only become clear as you work on them. You just have to get started. Okay? And that's the fact. Ideas don't come out fully formed. They only become clear as you work on them. You just have to get started. So let me pause here a little and share some insights. Ideas are a dime a dozen. That's like saying ideas are 12 for 10 kobo. Everybody has ideas. There are many people who have the same idea at the same time. And the fact is that it is only those people who decide to work on them that are going to gain clarity on those ideas. A lot of people get ideas, but they don't do anything about it. And then they see next week, next month, somebody is actually doing that idea that they had. So, oh, this person is doing exactly what I wanted to do. Well, they got up and they acted. Now, like I mentioned at the beginning, I wanted to share with us two different examples. I'll share a business example and I'll share a digital product. 11 years ago, while I was a NYC core member, I served in Plateau State in Bokos local government. And in that town, there was only one cyber cafe. Okay. And for core members who came from all over the southwest Nigeria, who were very used to internet and all of that, and you wanted to check your emails and just go on the internet and do whatever it is that you did, having one single internet cafe in that town was just not enough, And I thought to myself, this is an opportunity, right? This internet cafe was, located in a shopping complex. They had this very huge dish that they were using for internet access at the time. Now, if I wanted to compete, one of the flaws that we usually would have as entrepreneurs is to think, I need money to rent a shop so that I can have a huge dish so that I can also start this internet business. And that's the wrong way to think about it. You can start an internet cafe with as little as you can, just so that you have the minimum usage. So what did I do? So I left Bokos local government, went to Jos. I went to buy the stool and umbrella. The very popular stool and umbrella that all these people use for selling recharge cards. I had a laptop, I had a mobile phone, I had a Nokia N72 at that time. And my Nokia was my modem. I connected to my laptop and I sat under the umbrella, and it was at the junction in the town. And guess what? We started to make money. Okay, that's a minimum viable service. I didn't need to have a big store. I didn't need to have, all of the big dishes and everything. But I could create an internet service right there. Now, back then in Bokos, it was a very common town for people wanting to check WAEC and NECO results. Okay. This was a town where a lot of people were just doing their SSC and WAEC. And my small makeshift internet cafe was very, very well poised for people who wanted to check their WAEC results. I mean, the amount of money we made just in about 2 or 3 months that I ran that business was enough to actually show that a minimum viable service can actually get your business off the ground. And it's just about you thinking, what is the smallest way I can start this business, rather than put a gate in front of yourself, put a wall in front of yourself and say, until I have this capital, until I have this other thing before I can get started. So I hope you take that example to mind and see that how you can apply usable services or usable products to your current business. Another way to look at this is to ask yourself, what is your shortest route to sales? Okay. A lot of people, when they want to start their business, they think, oh, I need capital. Oh, I need to get some people to come and invest. Oh, I need this. Oh, I need that. Sometimes that's just excuses. Okay. What is your shortest route to sales? I'll give you another example here of a digital product. In the line of work where I need to do, we do a lot of training for SMEs, and we are affiliated with Facebook, and in about 2 years we've trained over 40,000 businesses across Nigeria. And part of our mandate is to issue certificates of attendance to all of these people. Now you can imagine having to issue certificates to about 30 to 40,000 people. I mean, they're digital certificates we send to their emails. Imagine having to design that by hand manually. That's a no-no. Okay. So we had to get somebody to do a software for us that could do the work. The first time they did something for us, it worked. The second time, after a while, it stopped working. We couldn't get them to fix it again. Then I decided, okay, you know what? I think I need to build something that can work universally. There are people who do trainings all the time. They need to find a way to be able to issue these certificates easily. And I decided to build a digital product called Akowe. Now, Akowe allows you to upload your certificate design, upload the list of recipients, and once you click on send, it's going to take the names, put it on the certificate you uploaded, and it's going to email it to all your recipients. So right now, in about 30 minutes, you can issue 1,500 certificates digitally. Right now, Akowe doesn't have all of the features that it needs, but it's available online. It's already making revenue. And that's what we're talking about, MVPs, a minimum viable product. What is the most important features that your business needs for it to be usable? What is the most important thing that you need to put together so that somebody can see the value and actually pay for it? Right now, Akowe has 2 customers who are corporate organizations who regularly issue certificates. And even though we know that there are so many features that we can still build to it, the important thing is that we've taken an MVP, we've put it out in the market, and it is earning revenue. All right. So I want to leave us with so a question I want to ask here. It might take some time before the responses come in. Is put in the chat section. Tell me what your business is. Tell me what it is that you're trying to build. If it's a digital product, if it's a service, whatever it is. And in the Q&A section, I might be able to help you think simply and show you what your shortest route to sales is. Remember, you need to ask yourself this question always. What is your shortest route to sales? How can I go from here to getting somebody to buy whatever it is I'm selling? Okay, leave out all of the fancy stuff. What are the core, features that my digital product should have? What are the core features that my business should have for people to be able to see the value and actually purchase? And don't forget our definition by Wikipedia, who says, for early users to be able to use your product, who can then provide you feedback, to continue to develop the product. Okay. One of the things that I also want to touch on here is that entrepreneurs and business owners are usually creative people. Okay, they're creative people, and you can't take that away from them. It's one of the reasons why they've gone into business, because they have these ideas that are just, fighting themselves in their heads, and they're like, I can make this thing happen, right? But one of the, I wouldn't call it flaws, but one of the drawbacks that creative people often face is that because they are creative and they want to put out their work in its most perfect form, they usually don't put out their content. They usually don't launch as early as they should, because as far as they're concerned, it's not good enough. And this is one of the reasons why entrepreneurs also are broke for longer, because they're waiting for it to be perfect before they put it out there. Whereas people that who are not half as intelligent as you, people that who don't know half of what you know, who don't have all of the experience that you have, they are out there in the market. Some of them are basically even spilling nonsense, but they're making money because they know that putting their content out as early as possible, putting their business out as early as possible, is sticking to the MVP rules. All right. So think today about your business. Those sentiments that you have, it's not good enough. Should I talk about it? It's all in your head. All right. You have to start to think, what is your shortest route to sales? Now, I want to show us this diagram. It's a pity I might not be able to interact with you directly, but I want you to take a very, very close look at both options, the one at the top and the one at the bottom. And there's a very, very clear difference about what we mean by an MVP. Okay. You can see that for the one at the top, this is what most creative entrepreneurs will do. They're going to wait until everything is perfect before you can actually start to use the product. Okay. This might take 8-10 years, right? In that time, what are you going to eat? How much money are you going to be able to make? Zero. However, with this MVP mindset, you can see that at every single stage of this product, it is usable. And that's how I want you to think about MVPs. That is how I want you to think about your business and whatever it is that you want to do. In fact, many years ago, a much younger version of yourself that did not know how to walk, you didn't wait until you knew everything about walking before you started walking. You got up, took a first step, took a second step. Sometimes you slam your bum on the floor, but you get up and try again. Okay. At every step of the way, you have to think about, how can this thing be usable, and can I test it in the market and see how it goes? I hope this has been able to show some deep insights on how to think about your products and building your businesses. And I'm sure my colleague is also going to be able to give some further insights on this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ayodeji. Thank you very much. I think that was very, very useful. And I think it particularly the bit about you don't have to wait until it's perfect, almost just start selling or start putting your product out there. I think that's very, very useful. We have some of the participants talking about their different businesses they are going into at the moment. And I want you to just quickly, before we get to the next speaker, to just give a recap on the rules of MVP that you mentioned.
Okay, so very simply, the rules are, number one, what is your shortest route to sales? This question is going to guide you, from any type of business that you're doing. Okay, remove all of the, number two, remove all of the complexities. Think simply. Okay, I want to be able to connect graphic artists to people who need them. How can I do this? I don't need to go and build one fantastic website. Create a WhatsApp group for the graphic artists. Create another WhatsApp group for the people who need their services. Join them together. That's simple. All right. Think simply. Think of your shortest route to sales. I think those are the two key things that should drive your thinking about your business.
Okay. Okay, I think that has been very helpful. We'll take the questions after we have Michael on. So thank you very much, Ayodeji. We'll
It's a
get back.
pleasure.
Thank you. So our next speaker is Michael Onobote. Okay, and I will just give a brief run through of his profile. Okay, so Michael is an international development expert. He has expertise in innovation, entrepreneurship, and digital skills. He's worked on several projects, helping organizations to optimize pathways to education, employment, and entrepreneurship also. He also provides implementing strategies for job creation, and he's consulted for multinationals and international organizations such as KPMG, UNESCO, and the African Development Bank. He volunteers as the entrepreneurship mentor on the MEST Africa and Tech by Her Accelerator program. So once again, you are very welcome, Michael. So,
thank you very much. I was wondering at a point if it was me introducing. And that was a very brilliant one, Ayodeji. Thanks for that concise and introduction on MVP. And actually, Ayodeji has covered a whole lot of the things I wanted to talk about, but I'll still run through, some of the aspects, especially that last diagram, which is very, very key. That diagram is one that has been used many times over because it just gives you a general picture of what an MVP is. I don't know if the slides are here. Okay, yeah. So, looking at that diagram once again, one of the things Ayodeji said is that at every stage, it has to be usable. And that's one thing I want us to remember. So, just to walk us through some of the experiences I've had, when it comes to MVPs and designing products. So I've actually done product design across the different channels you can think of. So look at web-based apps, mobile apps, even USSD products and SMS, because sometimes you find out that the customers you're trying to target are people who don't have internet access, yet you have to reach them somehow. And then it has to be easy for them. So when you're designing your MVP, there are things you also have to look at in terms of who are the end users, who's going to use this product and how easy would it be for them to be able to interact with the product. And I'll just try to look at these two examples that I've put on the slides. And one of it is the story of Andela. Andela is a company a lot of us would know. And even if you don't know it, you probably have heard of them somehow. And one thing I remember when they were talking about their story is that, especially one of the current board members at Andela, Jeremy, he was working on a university platform initially called 2U. So basically their goal was to take universities online, and they were like, okay, fine. We see a lot of requests for developers every now and then, but is there really a market for this thing? How do we even know that there's a market? They had this big idea, which a lot of us have. We have lofty ideas. I can see a lot of us typing, some of us are into e-commerce, fashion, agriculture, and what have you. But the point of an MVP is that before you reach that grand idea in your head, how can you validate it and be sure that people actually want that service? So one of the things they did was they started talking to, that's Andela, they started talking to people who would need the skills, because it's one thing for you to train people, it's another thing for those people their skills to be utilized. And if you look at that quote, it says, so far, the response has been overwhelming. We have a wait list of companies looking to hire Andela developers. Let's note that term, wait list of companies. So they had demand already, right? And they said, meanwhile, we can't even train our developers fast enough. For the first 28 slots, we had more than 5,200 applicants. So which means on the demand side as well, they were oversubscribed. And it reminds me of a problem we're trying to solve with a program. So MVP, most times, it's actually a process. So we can even apply it to life. MVP is not until you build a website. Think of it as you want to apply for a course to study maybe a master's degree, for instance. You are making an assumption that, and at every stage in life, we always have assumptions that we make, and that is just life for you. But testing the assumption can even to see and can be to look at the course outline and be sure that, do I even enjoy this course? Other than spending 4 years, or 1 year of your life and spending a lot of funds to discover at the end that this was not for me, or maybe the course is not even marketable. So an MVP can be, maybe I pay a $10 course on Udemy, try it out. Let me even see if this thing is something I would enjoy. So let's see MVP as something that has to do with the process of always testing our assumptions, always testing and testing and testing. Or in the tech jargon that we tend to use, we always say you iterate, you are always iterating, always improving. So they had the demand and they had the supply side. And that shows you that there was a match. And also looking at the story of Airbnb is a more like bread and breakfast kind of concept where people can rent out vacant spaces in their houses for people to come and stay in. But if you look at that some years ago, it would have felt like a crazy idea. Why would I want to rent out my room for a total stranger? But that was what someone came up with because of a demand that came in a conference, and I remember what Ayodeji said about the certificates. It was something that led to it. They felt, okay, we need to issue certificates out at a very fast rate. However, how can we make this thing work for us? That was a need. And then that need led to creating an MVP that now led to a full-blown business. So sometimes your business is not even intentional. It comes from a need, you understand? And we have to be flexible to always keep iterating. So again, taking us back to this diagram, and I want us to spend some time to look at it. And Ayodeji mentioned something when he said, you spend a lot of time. It's not even time you're spending. You spend energy, you spend resources. Sometimes you even disturb your family and friends to, follow your social media pages. You bombard them with messages. For the ones that have rich uncles, you tell them to fund it. But to save you the heartache of dragging people along that journey, where you land at, looking at this top diagram, you land at point 4, where you have a full-blown car. Now we can see that the smiley, the smiley is happy, is a happy smiley at the end. But that's even a case where people now want that car, but you spend so much time, building the car. However, there are cases where people don't even need it. And research has shown that a lot of, I think 42% of businesses, the reason why they fail is because there is no market need. So take, for instance, a lot of us that want to do fashion businesses. How small can you test that assumption that you have? Because you are assuming that people need your fashion services. Yes, people actually need it, but who are the people that need your services? And I'll just go to the next slide here, which is this MVP as a process. What is your riskiest assumption? So yes, you want to launch your fashion business. Who needs that fashion idea that you have? Who needs those clothes? You want to launch a clothing line. Who are your customers? Where are these customers? Why do you actually want to go into that business? And what is the best way for you to test that that business idea that you have is actually going to be viable? As the word says, minimum viable product. And I want us to see it as a process. Like Ayodeji mentioned, it can be minimum viable product as minimum viable service, or a minimum viable business, or a minimum viable process. You understand? So the point is minimum, right? What is the minimum or the smallest possible experiment I can carry out to test my assumption? Secondly, is how viable would it be when I test it? And then you keep, iterating and going over that process. So for instance, let me try to give you a small story of a business that I tried to run one time that didn't get off the ground. So we're trying to launch an idea for businesses to list on a platform. So basically think of like a yellow pages kind of concept, right? And we felt, this is a brilliant idea. Why won't people want to have a general place where people can see what they do? So for instance, you can at a glance see everyone that does fashion in your area, like a localized kind of concept. So we started talking to people. The assumption we had, like I said, there's always a risky assumption, was that people want the service. So we started talking to people. We're like, hey, this is what we want to do. This is how we are going to execute. And one of the questions they started asking us, because I'm based in Nigeria, and then we had the likes of VConnect who were already doing the same thing. So they're like, VConnect is free, or to a large extent free. So why would I want to use your own service? Secondly, a lot of them started pointing to the fact that what I need right now is I want to make money. I have training services that I offer, right? I'd rather put my training services on your platform for people to book and take those trainings. So those were from interactions, people were now telling us, there was feedback from the customer saying, hey, this is what I need. Now, we now felt, okay, fine, this is what these guys need. Let's go ahead and build the platform. Then we started talking to people who would be like the customers. And customers were telling us, okay, I don't know these businesses that you are talking about. I've never heard of them, and I'm not sure I will book this person's training because I don't know how credible they are. So then again, our assumption was tested because we now knew that, hey, these people, they want to see credible people in their fields. They want to know someone who is a well-known person. So if you're saying you want to take training on photography, I want to see that this person has maybe taken photographs of big people or has a very solid portfolio of clients, right? So then we now changed our strategy. We started approaching the top 5 in all the fields we're targeting. We looked at photography, we looked at bead making. So we targeted the likes of Mufeba Muiwa, we targeted the likes of Benga Artsmith, who is a jewelry designer. We're just looking at the top names. Then came the next big assumption that, okay, fine, we've gotten these big names now, so people should want to take these courses or, book for their services. And then the other assumption was people were going to take these courses, but then people started telling us, hey, I'm not sure I want to sit down in front of a computer and take this training. I want to do it physically with these people. I want to see them. I can't just pay and my money will just fly on the internet. In quotes. Those are the potential comments we started getting, and I guess we're not iterating enough, and we're spending so much time, because I already spoke about something too. What is the fastest way to sales? So in the process of all those testing we're doing, there were ways we could actually start selling. Maybe we could have started a WhatsApp channel, to get some people subscribed and say, hey, we have Benga Artsmith here, if you'd like to take a course physically with him, But we spent so much time building a platform, spent a lot of resources, a lot of energy, and that is why you are here, so that you're not going to make the same mistakes, that others have made. And I'm very hopeful that with the questions that you would ask and with the responses that we'll give you as this training goes on, you'll be able to get some valuable feedback. Also, please feel free to use the time booking tool as well that are available, so that you can get more, one-on-one feedback from the mentors as well, because there's so much you can harness from that interaction back and forth. So on this right side, I've put some tools that you can use to just test some of those assumptions you have. So for instance, some of us who want to do fashion, maybe you have no business creating a website yet. Maybe you start with Instagram. WhatsApp already has a business tool, which is WhatsApp Business, that you can have a catalog of your products that you sell. Why not try with that? Test it. see the feedback, get feel the pulse of your customers, understand what they need. And this is not to go and yes, family and friends is a good testing ground, but sometimes if you want real feedback, if you go and meet your family and friends, sometimes because they like you, they'll tell you, this is fantastic, oh wow, awesome. But people who are willing to pay for your service give you an insight, because they know they are paying their hard-earned money, and they will give you feedback, say, hey, I don't like this part of your service, or I don't like this product you're giving me. Why not try it this way? So maybe Google Forms, that would help you maybe run surveys as well to get feedback from people, understand what aspect of this product can you improve upon, what can you do better? What do they want to see in terms of features? Also, Paystack. Why I put Paystack there is that things are now very, Paystack is a payment engine, right? For those who are not in Nigeria. That is a payment platform. And what they have now, it's a very easy way where you can set up a payment form. So you don't need to have a website and integrate a payment engine. In the past, you have to integrate payment engines, pay a very huge deployment fee. But now you can set up a simple payment page and you can share that with your people. So let's assume you want to, maybe you're selling a service in this case, and your service is to, someone said she's a dance instructor now, for instance. Maybe you want to have your dance classes. You can just launch your payment page and say, hey, I'm having dance classes on Zoom on so and so date, maybe on Saturday, just a token. You can pay 2,000 naira just for a trial session. Let's have fun. There's a way you can set up your payment page, and boom, you're making sales already. Newsletters, landing pages, convert kits is also a very good tool. I'm sure in the last session on business tools, someone mentioned it as well. And it's a tool where you can just set up, if your website is not ready, you can set up a landing page that communicates something to tell users, hey, our product is in development. However, you can collect emails and have a means of reaching them when you finally launch. So in the process of your building or whatever you are testing and iterating as well, you also have to ensure that you're communicating so that people, so it's a two-way process. You're communicating with your users and then you're getting feedback as well from them. So that's that gives us an overview, just to round up, of what a minimum viable product is. And like I said, let's remember, we always have to keep testing those assumptions. So ask yourself, what is your riskiest assumption? You understand? And how can I carry out the smallest possible experiments to test this assumption? And I'm hopeful that with this, we understand that minimum viable products or MVP, as the case may be, is actually a lifelong process. So we look at a lot of businesses today. A lot of them are not the same way as they started because they've iterated over the years, because the market needs also keep changing. So the fact that you have customers today that are paying for your service does not mean you now rest and you relax and say, hey, I've got it right. It's a lifelong process. Look at maybe the likes of Kodak, for instance. In those days, that was the in thing, where you go into a studio, you take very nice pictures, you wait for it to be developed, you take those hard copies. But today, with your iPhone and Instagram, you're good to go. But that doesn't still mean that the traditional photo studio concept is not selling. But the point is, you always have to look for ways to keep iterating, to keep developing the concept till it gets to a point where you know that your product and the market, which some people call product market fit, there is just a match. The market needs your product, and your product is also meeting the needs of the market, and that is the whole concept of an MVP. And so there's also some resources that have been shared. You are going to get the slides, so I've put some links as well to just some little. So even how to talk to users, how to create newsletters, how do you create a landing page, how do you set up a WhatsApp business account, you know, things like that. I remember one, just shortly as I round up, I remember one little tweak that we made one time. So then when we approach people, we usually go there, we're selling to them, we're like, hey, we have this training platform, we want you to come and learn, you know, we feel it's going to do this and do that. We're just selling to them, and sometimes they'll look at us and they'll be like, okay, thank you, no problem, we'll get back to you. I'm sure a lot of us have heard that we'll get back to you a lot of times. Entrepreneurs in the house, I'm sure you can relate. But we're not okay, you know what, we need to change our approach. So what we did was we now started, so when we go to the businesses, we now ask them, okay, what trainings do you offer here? And they'll say, oh, okay, here we do Ankara bags, we make Ankara bags and all that, that's what we do. Okay, and be like, okay, so how much does it go for? So I'm engaging as if I'm a customer, right? How much does this go for? Be like, okay, this training, maybe for 2 weeks, it's 10,000 naira, this is, and like, okay. I was like, so do you have an online version of this course? Because, you know, there are people who are busy and may not have the time. Like, we don't have, but maybe when we launch, we'll let you know that, okay, we actually have a concept where you can launch this thing online and we're willing to help you. And we found out that a lot of people were more interested with that approach. So even in how you talk to your customers, you have to learn the art of selling. You have to learn how to speak to their needs and not to sell to them. You understand? So it's glad to have you here, and thank you, Dr. Itoro, for this platform. And I'm sure we can go to the questions now. Thank you very much.
You're muted.
I think you're muted.
Oh, apologies. Thank you very much, Michael, for that. I think that was very, very useful. And I think one thing I took away is thinking about was the highest risk to launching out. And I think that might be a big concern, because it's always as if you always think about, is the product good enough? You don't want to, even though you've probably done some market research and thought about, oh, this product, people need it, or this solution, people need it, but you don't want to put it out before you think it's ready. So what should they think about with those concerns? Because I think that's a major concern across for many people.
Correct.
So would you like to take that, the concern? How does someone think about that with that concern?
Okay. Sorry, I thought you were making a statement. Please, can you take that again? Let me get the question correctly.
Yes, I was saying, you know, when you talked about one of the thinking about what their highest risk to launching, I think one of the main concerns is the product good enough? How can we know if that product is good enough? You don't want to take out a substandard solution, or you don't think it's ready enough. And I think that's a concern.
Very good question. And the truth is, I don't know if I can. A product is never at that point where you can say it's perfect, but and I like the term that was used in the topic, which is usable. Is it usable, right? That, and I think that should be the focus. Now, usable does not mean it'll just be shabby and there are a lot of bugs, it's breaking and all that. But if your product, for instance, is to sell clothes, right? How can you get your clothes from the point of maybe the factory, if you have to make them yourself, or if you're sourcing from somewhere, and it gets to your customer in good condition, right? So what is the smallest way you can test and be sure that? So sometimes I think we overanalyze as well as entrepreneurs, and it's a normal thing where we want to, get it so perfect. We want to have, as long as you can take very good pictures with your phone, you can take very nice pictures of it. Maybe put it up on your WhatsApp status, right? Or your Instagram page, have a business account on your Instagram page. the pictures are clear enough for people to know that, okay, this is what this cloth looks like. Or you have friends that you can ask to volunteer as models, for instance. Say, hey, please, I just like to snap this thing on you. This is a size 10, this is a size 12, if you don't mind. And their friends are willing to do that. You can crop the face in case they don't want their faces to shine. You snap them. Your users already see what the cloth looks like, and you can upload that on your Instagram business page and also share with people on WhatsApp. So that is already a product that you've created. But if you are now waiting for, oh, maybe let me design my website first, let me put my payment engine, let me be sure that my pictures are HD, 4K quality, let me ensure that as they are coming in, there's one animation that'll just come and the clothes is spinning. I think then that is no longer an MVP, it's something else. So basically, the shortest way we can do it, as long as it's usable, that is the term that we should just keep in mind. Once it's usable and it's not a shabby product, then I think it's good to go. But your products will never get to that point where it's perfect. You always have to keep improving. When it's perfect, then there's a problem somewhere.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I think that's very helpful. Okay. Thank you. So we'll go into the questions. Ayodeji, there's a question for you.
Okay.
So Maya, she says she's a fashion designer and she sews clothes and bags, and she's also a student. So her issue is, how can she cope with the two at the same time?
Okay, so I think I have the requisite experience. While I was in school, I studied microbiology, by the way, and I knew even right in school that I was not going to practice microbiology. So I had a shop on campus. So yeah, I understand the need to earn money and also study at the same time. Sorry, excuse me. So the important thing is to realize that as an efficient human being, you must know how to manage time. Okay, those are some of the things that you're here to learn. You must know how to manage time, which means that you must be able to divide your time between studies as well as your enterprise. Okay, you can get the best of both worlds. You need to come out of school with your degree, because that's why you're there. But you're also learning some lifelong skills by actually starting an enterprise while in the university, because now you know how to collect money from your mates, and your mates are the stingiest people ever, right? Because they're also like you, they're just living on pocket money, right? So you're starting an enterprise in school. It teaches you the rules and the art of selling. So first thing, learn how to manage time. Okay, when you have classes, try and attend those classes. If you can't attend those classes, find a substitute for being able to gain advantage of what was taught in class. Okay, have a friend who is writing notes and you can keep abreast of what's being taught. Okay, you're there to get your degree. Don't forget that. Okay, and for your business, if you're spending your time wisely, you know that, okay, I can divide my time for selling to maybe evenings when people are online, and you have all sorts of tools to do that today. Instagram, there's WhatsApp Business, there's a catalog, there's Facebook pages, there's Facebook groups. All of these things are channels that you carry along with you with your mobile phones, today. So I think with just making sure that you take a serious look at managing your time, you're not going to have any challenges in managing both studies and your enterprise, because people actually even work while they're in school, so they just need to be able to manage their time properly. That's all.
Okay. Thank you very much. Michael, we have a question for you from Patience. She said, using an MVP process, can it help with business branding?
Yeah, it can. Like we said, again, MVPs, we can apply to life. So, but maybe it depends on what aspect of branding now. So, who is your target audience for this branding that you want to do? What exactly do you want to do? Is it just more graphic design, or are you looking at designing maybe flyers or designing letterheads or full-blown branding where you're taking on the website branding, you're giving them a brand catalog, like a full-blown catalog. So yes, you can actually use the process in branding, and branding to a small business is different from branding to maybe a multinational, right? So you have to look at what is the minimum viable way, if I may use that term, to communicate the brand's essence, right? So one of it can be the easiest, and I don't know, let me say the easiest place to start from is to look at maybe the logos of the company. You understand? Look at even the colors, the texts, the typefaces, all those things, the fonts. Those are the things that speak to the brand. Also, maybe their taglines. Those are things that you can easily change from a branding perspective, right? I may not, I don't know if I'm answering your question, but using that concept of minimum viable products, what is the riskiest assumption? So you're assuming now that people want to interact with your brand because you have this very nice purple and green logo, and your font is very big and in their faces. That is an assumption. So maybe one way to test can be when you change it, get feedback from users. So, we talked about the tools like Google Forms. I've seen people do branding contest on Instagram, for instance, where they say, choose which of these logos you like best. You understand? So they get that public feedback, right? They do like 3 different types of logos and they get people to give their own feedback to them. So that's one way to test, to see, okay, what do people like? You can ask people around. So that's one way around it before you now go all out. So a wrong way to do it would be to first finish everything and now go and meet your clients. Let's assume it's an external client you're working for, or just upload it if it's your own personal one and assume that people like it. You get, but you need to keep checking for users' feedback, keep iterating. If they say, oh, sometimes even out of the 3, you might see that the feedback is not as passionate as you'd expect. You get, so you can still do an additional 2 just to check which one really that feel like, this one is a bomb, that kind of thing. So from a branding perspective, that's one way to apply the MVP concepts to it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Ayodeji, do you have anything to add to that regarding branding? I saw you were nodding.
Absolutely. Because it's one of the first things we teach SMEs, right? Michael already said it. Logos is first place to start. But again, from the point of usability, it's also important to mention that sometimes you get the professionals to do your branding, especially because this is your identity, okay? Something as important as a logo, you probably don't have the requisite skills to design a proper logo for your brand yourself. So give that work to somebody who has the proper skills in creating those logos. And usually they would create several. They would do about 3 for you, and then you can then do, like Michael said, put it out there for people. Sometimes some people don't need to do that. They already know, they're confident in choosing the logos themselves, and that's also fine. But from the point of usability, don't have one logo on Instagram and have a different logo on Facebook. That's, inconsistent. You've got to be able to, because it's identity, if I see your logo here and it looks different here, my mind is, this is somebody else, right? Your branding is to communicate to me your identity as well as your brand promise. And if you cannot keep your logo straight on 2 platforms, how can you show me a very good dress? Okay, these little things matter, because you're basically, putting across what your plan, what your brand promise is. So think about it simply. Don't make don't spend a month trying to decide on a logo, for instance. That's way too much. Okay, get somebody who's professional, make your logo for you, move on. Because again, there are other things to deal with. You need to get revenue in, but just make sure you have that identity that speaks about your brand.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much. We have a question from Nkiru. How can an MVP be used for an online tutoring or training firm?
Okay, can I answer this?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so again, we often like to begin with the end in mind. Oh, I want to create this tutoring firm, and the first thing that comes to our mind is fantastic website. Looks like Udemy, you know, it's only for Africans. We're only going to take African people on this platform. Oh, it's going to be awesome. Yeah, that's the end. That's what you want your business to look like. However, from the MVP standpoint, you've got to start a lot simpler. Okay, what can simple be like? Zoom or Webinar Jam. How many trainings can you hold in a weekly, in a monthly basis? You know, get the people who want to do the training, get the people who can facilitate the training, get them on Zoom. If you can't even do Zoom, do WhatsApp classes. Okay, you're basically executing the same service. Remember, Michael says, what is your riskiest assumption? That people are going to want to use this beautiful platform that you want to build. However, the most important thing is they want to learn. Can they learn without that beautiful website? Absolutely. They can learn on WhatsApp. They can learn on Zoom. They can learn via phone calls. You can arrange mentorship calls. You can do so many different usable, you know, methods. It's all about usability. What form will people pay for this service? Okay, you've got to really, really think simply, and it has to match what the audience will pay for. Just like Michael was sharing an example with us, how you thinking about it like this, and people just look at you and say, okay, thank you very much, right? If they don't want to consume it in that manner, then they're not going to consume it. So start as simple as possible, and there are fantastic tools today. WhatsApp classes, WhatsApp groups, WhatsApp calls can be a way for you to match a mentor with a mentee. Zoom is there for 40 minutes. Match those mentors is free. If you want to go on the paid version, that's also fine. When you do this for 3 months, you're going to see revenue, but you're also going to learn what works the best. And if you're eventually going to build your platform, you're going to know what exactly to build. Okay, because you now have raw data from the market, not what you're assuming is what the market is going to want. Okay, do that for anything you're going to do. Just think, what's the easiest way for me to do this? What's the shortest route to sales? And then you can start getting that revenue in as quickly as possible.
Okay.
I'd just like to add to what Ayodeji said. In fact, because I have done something in that space, that online learning, and I can tell you what does not work, which is what Ayodeji said. If you build the platform, right, and you spend months doing that, it won't be a good strategy. So one thing is you have to first, it helps to build a community, which is WhatsApp, because there you have people who already, you know, when you, all those interactions you guys have, you have WhatsApp classes, you have on Zoom, those are things that allow them, there's something called brand loyalty. You know, they start liking you, they start liking your brand, they start liking the content. You understand? So you're already building that interest in yourself. So it doesn't mean they don't see YouTube or they don't see Udemy, but they just know that when I'm taking a training with what's the name? Is it Ogechuku? They know that Oge's class, there's just a certain touch to it. You understand? But not until you build the platform. No, there are many ways to test. I have seen an MBA program, MBA, that was done via email, not a platform. Not the only time I saw these people like face to face was when they were doing the certificates awards in quotes ceremony. So it was like all these mini type MBA programs that you do for like, I think it was 8 weeks or so. That's online learning. So I think sometimes we think until it's Udemy, until it's Coursera, it's online learning. Right now, what we're doing is online learning. Absolutely. We're learning, we're online, isn't it? So don't overthink it. Just test it in the smallest possible way, and you'd be able to have something great on your hands.
Thank you very much. I see we are running out of time. I know there are some questions about being able to access some of the mentors. We would send the list of mentors again to everyone via email, and we'll put it on the Google Classroom, and also the mentor that you've been assigned to. But also note that you also could go to peaktime.com/TechQuest, and then also look through the list of the different mentors we have there, and their availability is on there. So you could actually book a session with specific mentors that you feel might be very. So I'd like to thank everyone again. And just before we go, is there any last words that you would like to leave with our participants? We'll start with you, Ayodeji.
Okay, so what I just like to say is, especially for the creative people out there, they live on this table where they think their content is never good enough. You need to learn to get out of your own way and just put out your business, put out your content, because the people who are not overthinking it, they're getting visible, and visibility leads to conversations. Conversations lead to transactions. All right. So try as much as possible to put out your content so that you get visible and you can drive revenue, because at the end of the day, that's what your business is all about.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ayodeji. Michael?
Yeah, so what I'll just say is what I've said earlier, which is your product will never get to a point where it's perfect. So as it is, once it's usable, launch it. Keep testing, keep getting feedback from your users. And trust me, from that feedback, you either know if this is something you should continue. And also don't be scared to pivot your business as well. If you see that it's not viable, don't be too attached to that idea that you're not even willing to test and try something else. So that's just what I'll leave you with.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ayodeji. Thank you very much, Michael. And thank you to all entrepreneurs for being here. And we really appreciate you all. The replay of this session will be made available. We'll send it to you via email. We'll also put it on our YouTube channel at TechQuest STEM Academy. So you could check that also. And thank you very much again. And please book a session with our mentors. They are there to help you and to give you further insights or share their expertise. So have a wonderful afternoon, morning.
Thank you very much.
Depending on where you're calling from. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
Have a great day.